Guess we're ready for you.
Yeah. Trying to wait right for 6:30 for everybody that's remote. We got a lot of people remote right now. A lot of jobs pretty far away, but everybody's tuning in. So 6:30, we'll start. How's everybody doing? Good. Excellent. So this week's code of conduct is to maintain cleanliness and condition of our vehicles and our equipment. One change from last time we had this code is, I don't know if anyone's, we did set out an email, but we do have a nice back system right here in the back side of the building. There's a really good back to clean out our vehicles. You got the pressure washer, of course, everybody knows. So that's a little added. A way to promote the code is to really clean out the interiors of our vehicles as best as we can. So take a look today at your crew trucks, at your trucks where you're driving. If you can just kind of clean up today and then keep that.
Pressure washer broke for a couple days.
Oh, thanks, Chico. Good insight. Appreciate it. We'll get that fixed. But yeah, it's been definitely a good topic, and it takes the life of the vehicles, makes them prolonged when we can keep our stuff as clean and orderly as possible. So safety news, did the heat get to us this past week, or did we go another 7 days incident free? You know, we did well. Okay, we're up to 99 days. We get through today, tomorrow, we'll hit that 100 threshold. It's been very hot, been very a challenge to get through how busy we are with the heat, but you guys are doing an excellent job. So keep it up. Keep the hierarchy of controls in your mind. Keep doing those JHAs in the morning. Talk about what the hazards are and how we're going to control those hazards. So today I just wanted to quickly go over what to do when a VOSHA inspector enters your job site. I'm getting reports from the Agency of Vermont that they are hot and heavy, and they are doing a lot more random inspections than they ever have. So I'm actually surprised that we haven't really had one this year. We did have one last year. So I thought it'd be a good idea just to kind of go over what to expect and what we should do if a VOSHA compliance officer enters your job and targets, and it could any employee or anything, he needs to introduce himself. So what we want to do is we don't want to panic. Okay, we don't want to just panic and act like we don't know what we're doing. You know, it's no different than myself going on a job site, Ben, Ken, Scott, anyone. We want to guide them to our JHA and go over the health and safety of the project. So what you'll see is the compliance officer will actually identify himself. He will identify himself that he's with Vermont, OSHA, VOSHA, and what we want to do is guide him to your truck or your job trailers, and then call me or call health and safety and get a representative of the company to help you and assist you through that walkthrough. So call health and safety immediately, and I can, through that information, I can ask him that I'll be present through that walkthrough with him.
You're working remotely or out of town, is it reasonable to expect that they'll wait?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Unless the only time that they won't wait if they already saw something that's immediately danger to life or health. Since if we have someone working without fall protection, or if there's someone in a trench, then they'll say, no, we're going right to that and we're looking at it right away. But if it's a true random inspection, they would wait. But if they drive through the road and they see something that's dangerous to life and health, they're shutting the job down and they're investigating, with or without a representative on site. So what to expect, again, you'll see credentials. They'll actually have a badge that's almost like a sheriff badge. They'll identify kind of why they're there. And we're allowed to ask that question. Do you mind why, for the reason for the visit? It could be a random inspection. It could be that they saw something that's dangerous to life or health. It could just be a program thing they threw up through the Dodge reports where it's just kind of program, especially if you have previous violations on your record, they could be targeting the company. And then the other is if there was an accident. They could be doing a follow-up of an accident that they heard on the news, they saw the newspaper, things like that. They might be showing up to the job site. So biggest thing is, when they do ask questions, they're going to try to gather information, as much information. It's kind of our job not to speculate, not just to throw out false information. All right, so we want to keep our answers to the matter of facts, just the facts when they're out there, because they're allowed to talk to anybody. But again, you have the right to really just say, I got to talk to my supervisor. I'm uncertain of what you're asking me, and then we can be present during that interview and guide you through that. A lot of stuff is, do you know what HAZCOM is, or do you have your SDS sheets and things like that? But just some of the low-hanging fruit that some of these compliance officers are going after businesses for. But again, let's just keep it to the matter of facts. And I got a little picture here that's, that's actually a VOSHA inspector right there. That's kind of what they look like with their badges and stuff. So, is there any questions regarding VOSHA? Again, the best way is not to worry about them. We're here trying to develop a safety culture that we're always in compliance. We're always looking out for injuries and accidents prevention and management with our hazards as best as possible. So really, if you keep up what you're doing now, you have nothing to worry about. And again, if you have any questions or concerns or issues with your job sites, keep up with the communication. It's the only way that we can really eliminate all of our hazards, by working through the process and trying to really tackle those hazards and eliminating so we don't have any exposures. Daryl.
On your job hazard, now, if you show him that and you don't have something down, are you just setting yourself up for him to nitpick your job hazard, or are you better off just not to even show him it?
No, not at all. No.
I mean,
No, because all we're doing is we're showing him our processes of how we're going through our hazard recognition and control. That's what they want to see. They want to see a plan in place. They might ask questions, of how are you going through your process. But again, a lot of that is mostly just compliance-based driven through the standards themselves.
I think also, if you have a plan, if you don't have a plan and you didn't follow something you were following, you just violated two things. If you show them a plan that had a little gap,
yeah,
well, yeah, you can criticize that, but you only have one problem, not two problems.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And when we're working as a sub, we should be directing them to the prime.
That's a great point, Joe. Yes, we would actually send them, if we're working for J.E. Morrissey as an example, we would want to guide them to their trailer, or who's another, PC Construction. Thanks, Brian. That's another one. DEW, whoever we're working for. But if we're the GC, then we are in control of the site, that we need to kind of follow those steps. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Just the other thing, Matt, is that maybe they would ask you, have you ever been trained in something like, asbestos or something?
Yeah.
And the answer they'd love to hear is something like, yes, I was trained according to 1926.
Yeah.
But they don't really expect that. But you're going to be, if you're trained, even if you're trained, you're going to be like, I guess so. But they want to hear a very positive answer.
Yes.
And even though they'd love to hear something that tells them exactly what you were trained in, that's not very practical.
That's true. The low-hanging fruit that they've been asking is, do you know what HAZCOM is? Hazardous communication.
And have you been trained in it?
And have you been trained?
So, and you have, by the way. And we try to tell you when we do a presentation, this is a HAZCOM discussion to make you aware of HAZCOM protocol. Yeah. But sometimes you guys and myself are great at understanding content, but the titles and stuff are less something that I'm always aware of. But I try to make myself more aware.
And you can always go back and refer to the corporate safety manual. Pretty much that right there could be like, yes, we have corporate safety manual. I'll go get it and we can look over it together. And that right there will pretty much meet all of his expectations or her expectations. But they're out there, and I just wanted to raise the awareness out there and just kind of quickly just get on the horn, get help. Don't have to go through that process by yourself.
Hey Matt, how many officers do we have now in the state?
10 to 11. Yep. They did have 12, and I think one quit, so down to 10 or 11. So.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, what to expect from a VOSHA inspection? Nothing for corporate announcements and technical tips. This week we're talking about right angles. And of course, it's one of the most important layout skills, and surveyors typically use their transit or GPS setup to establish that right angle, which is essential for accurate layout of foundations, especially foundation walls and anchor bolts, and certainly to maybe a less extent roads, although you don't really have often a true right angle, you have a curve going into it, and curving and everything like that. So, but however, without those fancy high-tech tools, we also have other ways that are less accurate, but still suitable for a lot of certainly the excavation part of the work, and also provides kind of a good verification that, okay, here's the anchor bolt setup. You can figure out whether you really are on the money. So this is a good way to verify. This is maybe not the best way. It's the first one I talked about, is right angle prism. And that's a device where you can look into the prism and get a view of the 90-degree turns. So that's something available. I don't know if any of you guys have them. Yeah, it's just a little handheld thing, about a $30, $40 item, which can be very handy for sure. But one of the ways that a lot of us use basically trigonometry and geometry to lay out a 90-degree turn. And I use the example, this is called the Pythagorean theorem, or Pythagoras, who was a Greek mathematician who first came up with at least had the ability to prove it out. And basically the sum of the squares of the lengths of the sides of a triangle equal to the square of the hypotenuse. But basically it's pretty simple, that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And by example, we show if you have a 24-foot long wall on a building by 40-foot long, you can figure out what that hypotenuse is. And you do that by simply saying the 30, I changed my numbers to make it work better. Forget that.
30 foot wide.
30 by 30 plus 40 by 40 is equal to the square root of that is equal to the length, which is 50. See, and I ended up putting together a 3, 4, 5 triangle. A 3, 4, 5 triangle has all the special dimensions. And then what I want to also talk about is how you would lay out, knowing that distance. If you had this point and this point, a straight line established in the field, you could turn that 40 or that 90-degree angle. I mean, if you have to go out, you have a 40-foot long leg, and you know from the drawings that it's 30 foot in that direction. You basically you start with a line, and then you use your tape to mark out your 30 feet. You swing an arc, basically on the ground, paint or something, and then you go to the other end, and you go to your hypotenuse length, that 50 feet, and you swing an arc here. And basically the point that intersects gives you that point, which creates that 90-degree angle. So.
And you can always use that 3, 4, 5 relationship, which is really cool.
Yep.
3, 4, 5.
In any combination.
Right. So you could create your 90-degree angle, even if you're not with those dimensions, what Ben is saying, to come up with that 90-degree angle, and then you could project down that 90-degree point from here to here. You could eyeball that in to get out further.
So you can make your own square
You
out
could.
of 2x4s if you want.
There you go. You could cut it in the field, put a 5-foot, 4-foot, and a 3-foot piece together, and create a square, and lay it on the ground or up in the air, and just kind of eyeball stuff. And that's probably good enough for excavation, certainly.
Some
Maybe
of us has done that.
when you get to the anchor bolts, well, you might need a 50-foot 2x4 with a 40-foot length and a 30-foot length. So it might be a little more challenging, and maybe then you call Mike Plummer and Ryan. So pretty good stuff to know about in practice, and certainly it's just a matter of having a calculator that computes the square root, which isn't always that common. That's why it's good to know the 3, 4, 5.
And when you're all done, take your long tape measure, add all the sides together, and try it. So that you come up with the grand total distance. 3, 4, 5, 30, 40, 50, come out to 120.
Yep. Yep, so
It's
that,
not gonna be any longer, it's not gonna be any shorter, it should work.
yep, so that's, there's a lot of ways to recheck things, so it's good. It's good that even if you have Mike and Ryan come out, give you those anchor bolt locations, before you pour, you might as well do a couple quick checks, because if anything's wrong, once you start pouring, you're running out of time. Once it cures, you're out of time. So, or initial set anyway, I should say. You're stuck. So this week we're talking about the Harris Lot slope pipe repairs in Brattleboro, and we're contracted by the city of, it's a town, Brattleboro. I did notice that, and I didn't get that to change it. To repair a slope pipe that conveys stormwater from the sewer parking lot up on Main Street, basically, or just off Main Street, behind Main Street, to the railroad below, and our services included. It was basically design, build included survey, design, and construction. And we installed a couple legs of 18-inch corrugated metal pipe with two structures. And the main run had a horizontal distance of 68 feet and a vertical drop of 30, which is pretty significant at 44% slope. And a secondary kind of tie-in that was 80 foot long and only about a 15 foot slope, percent slope. So each joint was had a band on it and was cast with concrete to give it capacity, basically to resist pulling apart. Because as you can imagine, on a steep slope, especially if there's any sloughing of the slope or erosion, especially erosion might happen at the toe, and it starts to stretch and pull, that it's locked in. So 44% slope's pretty significant slope, as we can appreciate working on with an excavator and handling pipe and handling stone and fabric. You better roll your fabric downhill, not uphill, right? If you're doing it by hand, anyway. Even if you're not, that's going to be a challenge. And you get appreciation of how much slope there is there in the picture. And then the completed work, very nicely done. All restored with the mesh, the erosion fabric and the straw matting, and then also the riprap stone down to the outlet at the railroad. You can't really see the railroad there, but it's just on the right side. And then the outlet with a beehive grate on top of the structure. And so it also enters in the sides. Very nicely done. And just as kind of a few fact things, did you know that Brattleboro is the home of the annual world famous, they say, in their website, Strolling of the Heifers Parade? The event is held every June and is associated with the Holstein Association USA, which is headquartered in Brattleboro. And the association, it's interesting, what they do is they register Holsteins and provide a bunch of other, kind of information on Holsteins for dairy farmers, and I'm sure some of you probably know. Matt's smiling. You ever heard of the Holstein Association? Yes. Have you had cows registered? No? Well, they employ 140 people down there in Brattleboro, and they process 440,000 Holstein registrations every year for a total of, on an average day, of 1,400 registrations every day. So, holy cow, right? So then I have a picture here. Ben sent me a picture, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with a picture of, the excavator driving down Main Street of Brattleboro? Like, well, wait a second here. We're strolling the excavator down Main Street in downtown Brattleboro, and there were no Holsteins on site. So. They actually run the Holsteins right down the street. They parade them down. So as a project archive photo, I have the Limekiln Bridge drainage improvement, another slope pipe back 2002. And again, a pretty slope one. This ended at the river. Limekiln Bridge, the old Limekiln Bridge is up there. It used to be a secondary bridge for a probably sewer pipe or water, probably water, I guess. And we were installing the drainage on behalf of V-Trans and the railroad. The tracks are right here. And the bridge, actually, the old bridge is up there. So the tracks go underneath the bridge, and we were doing all the stormwater work around the railroad and under the railroad and discharging at the river. So that's what I got. Thanks. Have a good day out there.
Good that 330 looks back in 2002.
Yeah.
Good, I hope
It's
so.
not Monroe.
Rodney.
Yeah. Michael Bryan Sr. Jeff Barber. Matt Orzolat.
Mr. Bernier.
Matt Pickering.
Mike Vincent.
Pickering. Oh, Scott.
David Bullline. James Sheeran.
Adam Piper. Randy Piper.
Tyrone Cortez.
Chris Potvin.
Ryan Corda.